Welcome everyone to my review of IDW Sonic issue 77. Before I get started, I should address the logo-shaped elephant in the room. As many of you pointed out in the comments of my previous video, IDW Publishing is still IDW Publishing. This is admittedly my fault for not reading the small prints everywhere, but look at the design of the logo. At first glance, it looks like it's just an I and a D. But upon closer examination, the W is incorporated into the I and D. So you can forgive my ignorance regarding this odd redesign. And I bet I'm not the only one who noticed it at first. In my opinion, I like the old one better. Alright, with that taken care of, let's move on to the issue itself. And there will be spoilers from this point forward. We're entering part 2 of an arc dealing with the aftermath of the Clean Sweep Inc. saga's climax. Said aftermath involves dealing with some loose ends our heroes need to take care of. The Neo Diamond Cutters split up, with Lanolin and Jewel teaming up to rebuild Emeraldville, while Tangle, Whisper, and Silver head off to hunt down Mimic. Tails, Amy, and Blaze plan to visit the Restoration's regional offices and make sure the network in general doesn't collapse. And finally, Sonic and the Chaotix are trying to figure out who is running Clean Sweep Inc. these days, with its CEO Clutch currently in Eggman's custody. Today's issue will focus on that last bit. So without further ado, let's see what Sonic and the Chaotix find out. Sonic and the Chaotix arrive at Clutch's old hideaway, the White Park Chateau. First seen in Chow Race's and Badnik bases. The last time we saw the place, it was engulfed in an avalanche. It has since been cleaned up and repaired. The group speculate that Clutch could have planned to use his old home as a central base, or the location of his big comeback. Well, someone's using the place now as Charmy points out a shadowy figure in the window. They head inside, with Sonic scouting the place very fast. He reports that the place is practically empty. The only area he didn't check was the kitchen. He probably should have because the current owners of the place just appeared from there. Rough and Tumble, now sporting some fancier threads. Yes, apparently these two are in charge now. To prove that they're serious about not being thugs anymore, Rough rings a bell to activate the dormant egg pawns to attack the group. And because they're egg pawns, Sonic and the Chaotix easily handle them. Well, most of the Chaotix. Charmy would rather play a board game called Half Pipes and Pulleys, obviously an in-universe version of Chutes and Ladders, then find some easily disposable robots. Once the egg pawns are kaput, Rough and Tumble decide to get their hands dirty as usual, even if it means risking their fancy new threads getting ripped. One interesting thing that's revealed during this fight is that it was Rough and Tumble that ambushed and imprisoned the Chaotix during the Phantom Riders arc. Sonic calls a timeout on this insanity. Are Rough and Tumble really businessmen? And weren't they done being bad guys after Clutch ditched them in the engine room? Rough and Tumble respond that they are indeed legitimate businessmen, and Clutch works for them now. Wait, what? Clutch is free? Believe it or not, the Skunk Brothers are telling the truth. Clutch is no longer in Eggman's grasp, and based on his attitude towards Rough and Tumble, he is indeed their employee now. Before you say anything, this is indeed the real Clutch, and not Mimic in disguise. Clutch escorts the quartet into his office, where he lays it all out. His empire, big comeback, and reputation is now in ruins thanks to the events of the previous arc. Not to mention, he's made an enemy of Dr. Eggman. While the Restoration took a big hit they can recover from, Clutch lost everything. The only recent victory he had was that he was able to escape Eggman's clutches. Pardon the pun. Our heroes naturally aren't buying that Clutch lost the game and retreated to his old home to hide. Vector in particular questions why Clutch still has old tech and the reason why Rough and Tumble are his new employers. Clutch shows the crew the title deed to the chateau, which has been signed over to Rough and Tumble. In addition to being the new owners, Clutch also offered his services to them, all as payback for ditching them on the shuttle. And the egg pawns that got wrecked were all that's left of his chateau operations. So how come Clean Sweep Inc. is still up and running? Clutch says it's due to the automated robots he's gathered and reprogrammed. Since many of Clutch's living employees ditched him after he was exposed, the machines will keep running things until they break down due to neglect. Sonic and the Chaotix are still not satisfied, so Clutch provides them with the location of the nearest operational Clean Sweep Inc. facility so they can see it for themselves and destroy it if they want to. They will pay a visit to this place, and if it does not check out, they'll be back. As they pass by Rough and Tumble on the way out, they ask what exactly do they do. Currently, the Skunk Brothers are in the business of mooching off Clutch, but when the idea of actually running a business comes up, Rough and Tumble realize they have to actually do things. Once again, still not quite satisfied with Clutch's sad state, Sonic and the Chaotix head off to the Clean Sweep Inc. facility to investigate further. The four of them had every right to not trust Clutch because after they leave, Clutch heads into a secret area, complete with a bat-hole entrance. It's there that he makes contact with the true mastermind behind all of this, Eggman. That's right, the Eggman Empire is now running Clean Sweep Inc., and our heroes don't know it. Clutch informs him that Sonic and the Chaotix are heading towards a facility, and that the Doctor should prepare some surprises for them. So all this time, Clutch has never escaped Eggman's grasp. To hammer home that Clutch is now under Eggman's control, the Doctor has installed a device on the top of the possum's head to keep him obedient. Eggman ends the transmission, satisfied with this new arrangement. Clutch, on the other hand, would disagree based on his tremblings. And that is the end of the issue. Well, it turns out one of my theories from last time actually came to pass. Here's a quick reminder. Anyway, apparently Clean Sweep Inc.'s still in business. But who could be running it? Clutch himself. Has he either A, got away from Eggman somehow, and is keeping a low profile, or B, Eggman's now in charge, and Clutch is his puppet? Doubtful, but the Doctor has been known to seize any opportunity possible. That's exactly what happened. Clean Sweep Inc. is now a subsidiary of the Eggman Empire. Karma has definitely hit Clutch. He tried to take over one of the most heroic organizations in the world, only to be acquired by the most villainous. Messing with the main villain's stuff played a big factor into this. Fortunately, or unfortunately for Clutch, Eggman saw the value of recycling his old wrecked tech and kept him and his organization. Why not? Reclaiming stuff that has been wrecked by Sonic and his friends has its benefits. They can be rebuilt, repurposed, or at the very least, parts can be placed into new machines. It would save on resources Eggman might need for the bigger stuff. And it seems Eggman learned from his experience with Starline because he installed some sort of device to keep Clutch in line. By placing it on top of his head, many people won't notice it because Clutch would always keep it covered with his fancy hat. Unless someone decides to give him a good hit or something. As to why Clutch can't yank off this device, which I will dub the Bug of Obedience until its real name is revealed, it's possible that Eggman really dug it into Clutch's head. You may notice that Clutch also has a new cane, since he lost the old one during the scuffle in issue 75. Either it's a spare he kept lying around, or it's something else Eggman provided to keep him in line. I have a feeling we'll find out down the line. Switching over to Clutch proper, how the mighty have fallen. Besides going from running a massive criminal organization to being Eggman's puppet, there's all the stuff he went through as a result of being outed to the public during the Clean Sweepstakes, losing his company, reputation, and most of his hired help. I realize this is most likely part of the lie to cover up Eggman's involvement, but I believe he is really in a sorry state. He tried making a bigger play against the younger heroes, but he underestimated their tenacity, and it cost him everything. Seeing him like this, you'd almost pity him. Almost. To add to the humiliation, he's now working for Rough and Tumble. Of course it's to maintain the ruse, but still. Rough and Tumble's new living situation is reminiscent of their debut way back in issue 3. There, they practically took over a town after saving them from badniks, and made everyone their servants until Sonic and Knuckles showed up. Here they took over the White Park Chateau from Clutch, and also gained his services as payback for locking them in the engine room. They're practically getting everything they want, though I doubt this will last. When SBO brings up the concept of running a business, this gets the Skunk Brothers' wheels turning. They even try at one point to find Clutch so they could get some business advice from him. But since Clutch was in his Batcave chatting with Eggman at the time, they decide to take a crack at it themselves. I have a feeling this won't go well, since they're thugs. They're used to working for smarter individuals. However, there is a minuscule chance they might pull it off. Then there's our heroes' involvement in all of this. Props to them for remaining skeptical during their visit to the chateau, and for continuing to poke and prod at Clutch until they get something that makes them leave. They also provide a lot of the humor, with Sonic pointing out the ridiculousness of the situation, SBO's deadpan snark, as well as provide a nod to the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, Vector's paranoia, and Charmy's obsession with a board game, to the point that he successfully managed to swindle it off of Clutch after some negotiations. And upon closer look at half pipes and pulleys, you'll notice that the board pieces resemble the Neo Diamond Cutters. They only existed for a short time, but they're apparently famous enough to get their own pieces in the game. I know in reality it's Adam Bryce Thomas's way of sneaking in cameos, especially since Lanolin became an actual character, but I think it's kinda neat. And it seems that the Lanolin piece is in the original issue 2 garb, not the more militaristic one the real Lanolin wears these days. Even the fights in this issue are tame compared to the previous arc, but it is fitting for the breather nature of this one. It's clear that the Sonic and Chaotix plot thread is not done, as they head off towards a Clean Sweep Inc. facility, unaware that Eggman has some surprises waiting for them. But we're not going to follow up on that just yet. Instead, the next issue will pick up on another plot thread, Amy, Tails, and Blaze's quest to keep the Restoration Network alive. So come back next time as we'll see how that's going, and how the return of our favorite Sonic and Tails imposters complicate matters. See you then. If Sega were smart, they should release a real-life version of Half Pipes and Pulleys, and use the video game and comic characters as board pieces. If not, I'm sure fans would pick up the slack as usual. Either way, I wouldn't mind a little credit for the idea.